Hi, my name is Marco Taloni, and who am I? I'm not a candidate of any party. I'm not a paid promoter. I'm simply a businessman for decades, and I'm also a simple Canadian citizen, as you are. We have to go to vote. So I implore you first, you who can vote. Canada is our country. We don't vote somebody to own the country. Still, we are owners, all of us. Us, as Canadian citizens, we own the country, and we need to vote to elect the right individual who can represent us to lead this country adequately. We need to vote because we are appointing somebody to be our voice for our necessities, living in this country, and it's our country, Canada. So go to vote. But who to vote? Who would be my voice to implement whatever it takes to see that we grow, that we can be better, living in a better society all together as Canadians? So these days there are debates and interviews among the parties, but today I just want to speak about the main two parties leading this election, which are the Liberals and the Conservatives. So Liberals are led by Justin Trudeau, who is the actual Prime Minister of Canada, and for the Conservative, the leader is Erin O'Toole. So be aware that this discussion of mine is not endorsed by any parties. It is just a simple and humble evaluation that I, as a Canadian citizen, want to do. So, first of all, what I noticed is that many facts aroused by Erin O'Toole are based on the weak and mostly false or incomplete declaration which depict Justin Trudeau as a failure. Also, I would add that every other candidate tries to point out Justin Trudeau as a liar who didn't deliver promises. By contrast, Erin O'Toole speaks out by leveraging these assumed failures of the Liberals through bursting what Erin O'Toole would have done at his place and making appear his capabilities shiny and effective compared to such assumed failures of the Liberals. So let's first evaluate these words of Erin O'Toole advertising that Justin Trudeau spending, who O'Toole says is driving Canada in a strong inflation, then on the shoulders of investors and consumers because prices are rising. Justin Trudeau, how they put it, seems is spending money for nothing. Justin Trudeau is investing, even during the pandemic, maintaining the economy running, saved the ass of many, saved people from starving. How many recovery benefits have been generated? CERB, CRB, Federal Business Recovery Funds, federal and provincial in many forms, and not just peanuts, just every month, but every month around $2,000 to help people who lost business and jobs, running every month, and still running right now. Money put in the businesses to help on the recovery, tens of thousands of dollars each business. And Justin Trudeau at the same time kept going and still keep going to maintain pace of the country affair in order to improve and maintain the path for growth. Look around, how many new construction are ongoing. It means prosperity. That's what I know. Construction quantity, it's equal prosperity count. So again, COVID-19 pandemic, it's a big hit, but it seems things are moving forward properly right now. But some Canadians still think of this pandemic like a flu pandemic. they act accordingly and expect to be functioning or related at such level of the community's health issue. I'm so sorry, but this pandemic is much more serious and very dangerous. So, think about it. 4,616,874, 75, 76, 77, 78. I cannot stay on top of it. People are keeping going to die in Canada and in the world for COVID. In this very moment, confirmed COVID deaths. And every day, keeping going to die. Justin Trudeau, together with the health agencies, are working hard to handle everything. First, to make the business run, to make the economy run again, to make the jobs rolling. Second, to please people who are stunned and psychologically proven because cannot go out, cannot go to the gym, cannot meet, cannot go to a restaurant, cannot go to see raptors, cannot travel for business and for leisure and so on. That's what we are. We need these things, right? We are spoiled and we need this main source of life for all of us. Maybe we are in denial, but this pandemic is serious. Again, near to 5 million of people died for COVID. I repeat, died for COVID. And Justin Trudeau, even we are at war against a dangerous virus, is doing all possible and even more to maintain things and reality of our country alive and minimize as more as possible disruptions. Many of us are feeling better right now, most of us, because things seems are running again. And we are going to fitness, we are meeting, we are playing with kids in the parks, we are going to school, mostly we can work. It's a normalcy, isn't it right? Justin Trudeau is juggling to maintain this country alive and prosperous in the middle of a pandemic war. Or maybe you want to try to go in Afghanistan and see how it is. I don't want to put bad words in Afghanistan, poor guys. Justin Trudeau is maintaining our standards at economy levels as we want and working to accomplish much more in the near future. We should celebrate him instead to listen a mountain of lies and adopting bad practices to get votes, just to get votes. Doing how? By slashing down Justin Trudeau with lies, twisting the mind of voters. Don't get mistake. For example, the Erin O'Toole's campaign against Justin Trudeau saying that he's driving the economy down with such spending. Erin O'Toole makes appear that the spending goes in the Justin Trudeau's pocket. The spending is for Canada, for the infrastructure of our country, for the development of Canada and Canadians. Such spending is basically a pre-investment for the future. Our future as Canadians. So, Erin O'Toole wants to brainwash Canadians throwing garbage to Trudeau and making appear a reckless spender. Well, Erin O'Toole make suggestive videos with products with skyrocketing, increasing prices. Oh God, Justin Trudeau is so bad, spending in Canadian infrastructure. And inflation keeps going. We know that inflation is something goes no matter what. It's related at a series of factors, including international markets. The rising of consumer prices is normal since a long time. It happens every single year. The only reality is that the country should keep the annual inflation rate as lower as possible. Yeah. So the prices rise all the time, especially now with this pandemic. Producers and retailers need to patch and not recover losses. And they know the people want to go back to buy things and then price increase. It's a natural process. It's a part of the market. But let's take a look to numbers generated by the Bank of Canada rates. I'm not inventing anything. Right now, Justin Trudeau, we have an average of 1.87% a year about inflation, and it means that the value of the dollar is 0.87% less than the previous year. Well, let's go more back. Paul Martin, conservative, from 2003 to 2006, the annual average the inflation set at 2.22%. Just Jane Chrétien, Liberal, from 2003 to 2013, he maintained an average of inflation at 1.83%. So now Justin Trudeau compare to Stephen Harper time, we see an increasing of prices by 0.19%. So meaning the difference of inflation is a bit more Trudeau, by Trudeau time, at 0.19%. Wow, so much. 0.19% difference. Justin Trudeau giving the around $2,000 monthly as a recovery benefit, it will cost to us $3.42 in a month of spending, because inflation more than Harper, or 0.19%. So basically, what's going to happen? Wow, we'll go bankrupt. $3.42 a month. What is it? We cannot buy an extra latte at Tim Horton in a month. Meanwhile, Trudeau is increasing tax benefits and having added the climate incentive benefit. Perhaps the cost of 0.19% increase is not absorbed by Justin Trudeau government through the benefits that is increasing, and the CERB, CRB, and recovery funds. Think for a moment. In the Conservative platform, Erin O'Toole mentions again that Justin Trudeau made catastrophic errors, such as being unprepared when COVID struck in 2020, and also adopting insufficient measures or delay to start the fight against COVID to make Canadian citizens safe. He said that he failed to protect the citizens from the virus spreading. So, the exact words that Erin O'Toole, the Conservative, said are the virus was able to spread, increasing fear and anxiety among Canadians, resulting in cycles of lockdowns and prolonged health risks to tens of thousands of Canadians. So, Erin O'Toole said that Justin Trudeau failed, allowing the virus to spread and make the economy down and make Canadians suffer. Then he's accusing Trudeau to have done that. So now, let's see. This one, it is so odd statement, so manipulating toward the Canadian citizen. It seems that Erin O'Toole is using all what necessary by this electoral campaign to discredit Justin Trudeau and the Liberal to get votes. Because I know and I saw what Justin Trudeau did, and they know too. Also, Erin O'Toole said that Justin made another big mistake by shutting down the global Public Health Intelligence Network, which is a digital system monitoring on internet to detect potential disease globally in the world. He said it was a huge mistake. For example, this digital system was Zika in the West Africa, the swine flu pandemic in Mexico, the H5N1 in Iran, MERS, and Ebola. So Erin O'Toole, again, wants to make Justin Trudeau appear incompetent, a failure. And it's true that in 2019 the Global Public Health Intelligence Network was shut down. But just 9 months later, when COVID started to appear consistently under council among the health officials, Justin Trudeau decided to reinstate it. But do you want to know why it was shut down? Because the Conservative Stephen Harper cut the funds to it. And then there were insufficient funds to make it run. Justin Trudeau and the health commissioners realized such a problem when COVID-19 appeared. And in fact, Justin Trudeau didn't hesitate a second to reinstate funds for it, and then reversing the problem, since the Conservatives started it in the first place. So, COVID-19 got by surprise whole world, and there were not delay or mismanagement by the Liberals. It's so false. It's so bad practice by Erin O'Toole implemented in order to disseminate a bad image about the Justin Trudeau management, playing with the words and make appear Justin Trudeau as a failure for managing this pandemic. Again, all world was gotten by surprise, and it is easy by O'Toole saying that they know how they would have responded and how would have managed it. So then, just saying that after everything was already implemented by the Liberals, Erin O'Toole seems to me that he wants to build reputation and capabilities by shining through speeches built just to mislead Canadians. Response to COVID was great by Liberals. Yeah, got them by surprise, it's true. As everybody else in the world, but promptly reacted to it, showing leadership and desire to protect Canadians, implementing proper measures since March 2020. Mask mandates and mass information campaign was implemented to help Canadians to understand the reality of this pandemic. Canadians also needed time to understand more, but information was provided in real time, on TV many times a day, in the streets, in newspapers, and more. I remember how I was impressed by such work. So Erin O'Toole says that would have been done it more effectively. But that is pure lie. COVID globally was unknown. Nobody really knew how it would have impacted our societies. Nobody knew how really would have been dangerous and easy to spread. No one in the world knew that except for China, where COVID was originated. But immediately when cases started to rise, Liberals took major measures. Erin O'Toole said it's the fault of Justin Trudeau for the series of lockdowns. See, he tried to leverage where the citizens were struck so bad by lockdowns and where many people suffered and they hated what happened. And now Erin O'Toole tries to leverage such bad moments of the citizen to make appear Trudeau as a bad guy for Canadians. The truth is that lockdowns were necessary, and the quantities of lockdowns are related to the global arising of the infection everywhere in the world. The pandemic hit hard Italy, France, Spain, UK, US, yet India, Brazil, more countries, all world. All of these mentioned countries were worse than Canada. Justin Trudeau managed to contain such lockdown and make them relatively mild over the shoulders Canadian. In Italy, for example, we're implementing curfews, literally, like during the war. And if you wanted to go out, In there, you need a certification controlled by police, just for example. Trudeau implemented adequate measures real time in the level. Trudeau implemented adequate measures real time at the level of our pandemic in our regions, trying to do not weigh more than what was necessary on citizens, showing resilience, leadership. Information was provided continuously throughout the day to instruct Canadians how to behave and act against the pandemic. Justin Trudeau appealed to Canadians to participate, united, because he knew how was such hard hit for all Canadians. Still, all those measures were necessary to impede the collapse of the health system and to impede a further accumulation of Canadians' dead bodies caused by COVID. So, Justin Trudeau, if you see clearly, took immediately a series of helping measures since jobs were shut down, since businesses were not working. Helps from 2020 all the way and until the present time, Canadian citizens are getting money from the government. It's a year already, every single month. Do you see that no help was not given? Well, in Italy, for example, just once happened a similar help one time, €600, maybe few times or so. Justin Trudeau is doing his best to financially help Canadians to go through such a pandemic. Tens of measures has been taken to help businesses and still are ongoing, and some businesses also are tens of thousands of dollars to get helped. That there is a pure reality. Now, the vaccine, let's talk about the vaccine. Globally is recognized by thousands of health scientists and specialized commissioners as the only way to fight this pandemic effectively. So, vaccine is the only way. The Liberal, together with the provincial governments, were and are providing a plenty of information and chances to make the Canadians safely vaccinated. And ultimately going toward the resolution of this ordeal through vaccine, because there is no other way. Erin O'Toole brags that he could do better, and I don't see how it could be better than how Justin Trudeau did at doing it. I traveled in Europe in between August and September 2020, staying in UK and then staying in Italy and then passing by Netherlands, and I could see how in Canada things have been much better organized against the pandemic. And I see how Justin Trudeau's leadership contributed in this situation. Certainly, the words used by Erin O'Toole regarding this, saying that Justin Trudeau put at risk the safety of Canadians. The statement is so twisting the reality by disseminating lies. My question is, this is a Conservative Party? Conservative Party? Well, Conservatives want cuts and limit the spending because they aim to accumulate a surplus. Also, Erin O'Toole said it's time to end the contribution to citizens and business to provide help for pandemic. But then he adds it up. When people start to work again step by step. Yeah, right. So, but Liberals think that if there is still a hard time ahead, since we are already in the fourth wave of this pandemic, we might need more help. Plus, we need to recover the past closures for businesses. So, Conservative, they might I mean, they think that Justin Trudeau is spending an inconsiderate amount of money, putting it in our Canadian communities to help especially lower class, then then the high one. Lower class is the majority of us, middle class and lower class. But conservatives are exactly conservative. They want to reduce instead to expand. They prefer to maintain things how they are, instead of looking forward and have a vision for a much better Canada. I can see how Justin Trudeau is very keen to invest instead. Yes, I said investing in Canadians and Canada. Just think, if the majority of Canadians have a chance to work more, to have a better quality life, the businesses will work more and the money will have a faster turnover, and then it will produce more revenue for the government and then enable it to do even more. Inconsiderable spending is using money for nothing. But here, Liberals are investing to increase considerably the quality of life of all Canadians, becoming more competitive and more efficient in workforce. And that's how I see it. It's called increasing capabilities levels and then a more financing turnover. And from that also, bigger business that are also so worried about money and return of income, they will benefit as well, a spontaneous consequence. More financial turnover is equal more prosperity for all. That's the meaning of the Liberal slogan, moving forward. Another issue is where when Erin O'Toole said that they will have a preparedness plan for future pandemics. And my wonder is, what is this? Erin O'Toole likes to brag his image, using words that it doesn't make any sense, just they look, because just to make it look nice, to mislead Canadian, but doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because a center for emergency preparedness and response in Canada, it already exists. If something is already in place, how Erin O'Toole would appropriate such idea as a leader, a generator of something already exists in Canada? See, again, I am discovering so many gaps and funny statements from conservative. Is that what we want for a better Canada? Center for Emergency Preparedness and Response is an agency working with the governments, and Erin O'Toole wouldn't do anything more than what we have already done and doing right now. They are continuing to work to improve. So this agency is continuing to work to improve incessantly. Such organization is like a public health, exists since the 700s, officially born in 800s, but a group of commissioners has been set since that time. The first pioneers coming to Canada were dying by pandemics and illnesses, and it's developing ever since. Now, I want to talk about weapons, a crime. Yeah, we see an increase of guns and shooting. Liberals and most of Canada do not want easy guns that go into the hands of criminals, and a policy of crime stopping is already in place, and operations are always ongoing. For example, recently large operations in Markham, in Ontario, seizing illegal drug, guns, and also the one closing down an illegal private casino and prostitutions. In Hamilton, cracking down on crime families, mafia, So these things Justin Trudeau does because he wants to start to do the right thing. And not like any other tool wants to slow down the process of gun reduction. Lib1 want assault weapon and handguns out. And that's what I want. And majority of Canadians want. So now, the environment. The environment is not a big issue. So Lib1 want to spend money to create jobs, to create more businesses. But also, we have to plan properly for the environment, for climate change. Conservatives look like very poor in this matter, because they say they have a plan. Also, other candidates say we need to act now and obtain result now for climate change. But now, I want to tell you the real truth, and then also what we have behind of it. All other parties say that Justin Trudeau is doing nothing. But to have a better Canada, we must cooperate, all of us, first, to reduce plastic and dispose of it properly. For example, look, in the ocean exists a new continent. Yeah, between North America and Asia. There is another continent. What? Yeah. The name is Pacific Trash Vortex, most commonly called Plastic Island, as an extension of an average of half of the United States. And then is plastic. Well, this is not an invention. I'm not inventing anything. Just Google it. You see it. So this is like an accumulation, a garbage accumulated in the Pacific that for some current piled up and became compact. So sea life dies for plastic. It has been found small little pieces of plastic in the stomach of fishes. And not just that, fishing lines, bottles, and so on. The plastic even decomposed in small little, almost invisible pieces, is still plastic. A fish swallow it and die. So hurricane, tornado, wildfire, earthquake, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, earthquakes, inundation, high water, landslides, everywhere in the world. Look around. Is it something you should think about it seriously? Justin Trudeau, as I do, as the other fellow Canadians, a war citizen, is concerning a lot about it. Action are taken, and will be taken, because Canada is in a world where we live, and natural consequences come to us as well. But take times, and many aspects have to be taken in consideration. It's not something can be completed in few years. It's not just Canada. The Conservative and other parties says we must act now for the change. Okay, yeah, things must be taken, differently. Justin Trudeau is doing already, because things must be taken with a lot of diplomacy and leadership that only Justin Trudeau can deliver, because, as I said, it's not just Canada, but actually China is the most pollution generator in the world. Then follow US, India number 3, Russia number 4, Japan number 5, Germany number 6. At the 7th position there is Iran. And then the rest of the world follows. Well, Lib1 take this matter, the environmental matter, seriously, working internationally from the day one. Justin Trudeau went to Paris to sign an agreement in the matter. How much Conservative focus on this matter? Well, they have a plan, they say they have a plan. Okay, I tried to looking for it on their platform where they have the so-called plants. I couldn't find it, or maybe it was so small I couldn't see it. Is it so irrelevant? Well, it is not. Be aware about it. Nature is unstoppable. Let's be gentle with it. This is a very delicate matter. Then Justin Trudeau wants to weigh over the rest of the world. He must do that. Canada cannot do everything by himself. Cannot solve the climate change by himself, that is just a small little part of it. How? For example, Justin Trudeau implemented carbon tax to show to the majority of participants in the world scenario for the climate change about his intention. And also those money going back in the pocket of Canadian. Climate incentive, remember? Don't get mistaken. We cannot expect that we go to clean the world from one day to another. Everybody in the world has to take steps. There are involved trillions and trillions of money in the actual fossil fuels. And not just that. In the world, how many jobs connected to it? Millions? Let's be realistic for a minute. Today we shut down oil and gas. Production of oil and gas, close, bam, bust, bye, no more. I cannot even think about it. What would happen? Just fantasizing. Stock market, how it's going, interest rates, millions of people no job, currencies, hurricane and financial object. Maybe Microsoft cannot even work anymore, or Elon Musk cannot produce cars anymore, or go to Mars. No fuel to run industry and make a battery for Teslas, for example. No TV, no heat at home, no internet, no nothing, no electric, no air conditioning. Don't you think that we should work hard to implement solution instead? How we can solve the problem from, they say, we didn't do anything. What do you want to do? We have to act slowly. I know, slowly, faster. You cannot do any faster. It doesn't exist any faster, because this is a huge problem. Our society is already based in fossil fuel. And then how we do, every part in the world. So we discover right now, just recently we discovered this situation. We didn't think, nobody thought about it. So and then the other candidate in Canada, candidates, they say, oh, Justin Trudeau doesn't do anything. It doesn't, look, nothing happened, climate change is coming, he's doing nothing. But that's insane, insanity. Justin Trudeau do that. You want to implement solution, you want to do it. Surely Justin Trudeau has this matter in his heart, and we have to work with diplomacy and wait on the international scenario, and that's the solution from Canada. Just alone, Canada's economy runs by the natural resources. That's why Canada is how the Canada now. Can you imagine Justin Trudeau show his fist on environmental matter? Then one day to another, take Justin Trudeau, his fist, like steel fist, it shuts down all pipeline that exists in Canada. No gas, no oil. It's enough because there is a pollution, because there is a climate change. Let's change it. Let's show. I show to all world that that's what we do. Well, that's a fantapolitic. Just play with your head. You can imagine what chain reaction would happen. And not just in Canada, that it will be completely collapsed in a week. And then in the US, they will get so pissed off because many part of US depends from us. Maybe they will think that we went nut, and they will come to take over Canada to run it. So let's be realistic. Justin Trudeau is doing it, to act together with all countries in the world, and that's the solution, the only solution. Liberals are focusing also. Let's talk about healthcare. Now we switch. Let's talk about the healthcare and seniors. So liberals are focusing this matter because they need more help, and liberals will give that too, and want to increase minimum wages for personal support workers to $25 per hour. Conservatives want to minimize the spending instead, to save money, to reduce the deficit, and at the same time reducing all Canadian development and reducing jobs. As a consequence, that's going to happen. So they keep going to say jobs will increase under O'Toole. If you don't put more money in the infrastructures of our society, how the number of jobs can be increased? It will be reducing finance turnover for businesses as a consequence. And then less revenue for all other businesses, then the middle class will struggle more. And that's how it looks like to me. The Erin O'Toole conservative plan. I mean, that's a logic financial economy. I am a business developer for decades. I learned that you need to invest in workforce and business infrastructures in order to develop and consolidate your quality and capability maturity levels in the business. Some of you know what it means. In the end, it means consolidating growth. I saw in the Conservative plan calculations. I saw in the Conservative plan's calculation a chart about the comparison between liberals and conservatives. But that calculation, a chart, is just fantasy to render their wording of the conservatives in some sort of visual effects, to convince voters that Trudeau is making mistakes and recklessly leading Canada to a disaster. That's what they want to show to people. Try to scare them about their future. So, but don't get mistaken that such calculations are not calculating the reality of an investment. Investment would see quality life of Canada growing, and as a consequence, business will flourish. And as a result, income tax will pour back in the governments, ready to be invested again. That's how it should be done, a projection. Not just as Erin O'Toole did, like a visual effect of his bragging words, hoping to acquire votes. That's how I see it. Investment also come in place from giving a chance to Canadians to have their own place to live, investing to make housing affordable, and more Canadians will own a property. That's also a fundamental matter. At this point, I don't have a choice. If we want to see our Canada growing and see better quality for all Canadians and see the businesses grow, definitely, I vote Liberal. Let's take a look now. In the indigenous matter. The spirit of the intention toward a reconciliation and to find a solution to protect and create a safe environment to indigenous population. It's something ongoing, non-stop, in order to make a better life for them as for all Canadians. Let's go take a look 1 second to the Trans-Canada Pipeline affair. Canada has a major revenue input for natural resources, including oil and gas. Justin Trudeau wants to work on the environment matter, and he is working since day one of his mandate as Prime Minister to optioning some solution and also working internationally for emission reduction and climate change matter. Conservative and as well the other candidates, they attack Trudeau with lies, saying that nothing happened, really, and that even Trudeau is pushing for the Trans-Canada Pipeline. Seems controversial with the environment, for the fact environmental matter. So the climate change is not something that Justin Trudeau can solve today, but he committed and working on it to reduce CO2 emission. The economy must run, and certainly Justin Trudeau has to get into a reasonable path, and certainly doesn't want to cut down thousands of jobs and shut down billions of dollars of economy coming from oil and gas. And then Canada's economy itself, how we survive in Canada? How we survive? We only that the major income revenue for Canada come from that, from natural resources. So now, also you have to think about energy. You know, the community to have energy enough. So the Conservatives are slashing down Justin Trudeau, saying that it is a controversial and climate change affair. By one hand wants to diminish pollution, by the other hand is working hard to make the Trans-Canada Pipeline going through. Well, things must be conducted reasonably with the collaboration of the entire world, especially China. As I just mentioned, that is the major pollution producer of the world. Then Justin Trudeau knows that we had to work on it gradually, since economy to change will take time. Canadians don't want to see a monstrous decline of the economy by shutting down some natural resources market in Canada. We made an example earlier, but Justin Trudeau has the intention to sensibilize the producers and show to the world that the climate change is something to take seriously and to move forward to act to start a process of change in terms of energy production, especially for the future generation. Takes time. Justin Trudeau advocates such matter publicly and seriously. An act at generating carbon tax as a sign to make understand the private sector that has to participate to this change. And such money went in the pocket of Canadians with the climate incentives. So many other things are to be done. And Conservative and the others, they cannot just open their mouth, slashing freely, trying to diminishing the reality, the actual reality of liberals. It is a bad practice to get votes. The pipeline is a powerful turnover for the Canadian economy, and it would be beneficial for all Canadians, including Indigenous, as they are Canadians. But, in the same time, alternative must be found. We are just at the beginning to recognize internationally that the climate change is serious. Justin Trudeau is taking strong steps already. So how we can trust as a tool these so bad practices to make Justin Trudeau a reckless Prime Minister? Tool just opened his mouth and didn't do anything. Justin Trudeau is guiding Canada towards certain growth, investing in ourselves and in Canada's infrastructure. So that's what we need to make a real better Canada. So now, go to vote. Canada is yours. Elect your representative to speak behalf you. To speak behalf you, only with a scope increasing your quality life. So, thank you for listening these statements of mine. I hope you have a clear mind about, make clear in your mind how the reality of Lib1 as a Justin Trudeau is doing magnificent working around, implementing a solution, implementing the top of the best. So open their mouth, the candidate just open their mouth that they promise. It's not true. Look around. The promises of Justin Trudeau are just at the beginning. That's why he wanted this election, because he needs majority to act fast.